France 24, 5th of January 2024, China and India monitor key regions near Bhutan's last barrier. China has pressured Bhutan to sever ties with India and accept the Chinese negotiated settlement. Analysts caution that as China and India approach strategically contested border zones, they will closely follow Bhutan's election process as the country prepares to install a new parliament in Thimphu on January 9. After discussing their disputed northern border, Bhutan and China signed a cooperation agreement in October. This caused anxiety in India, which has long viewed Bhutan as a buffer state firmly under its orbit. According to Harsh V. Pant, an international affairs professor at King's College London, Bhutan is one of the last barriers in China's attempt to influence South Asia, as reported to AFP. India is cautious following a wave of aggressive trade agreements and loans by Beijing, particularly with Bangladesh, Nepal, the Maldives, and Sri Lanka. It is determined not to allow China to expand its influence further over what New Delhi views as its natural sphere of influence. Beijing and Thimphu do not maintain formal diplomatic ties. But until 2007, India controlled Bhutan's foreign policy. In exchange for free trade and security arrangements. In a December study, the British think tank Chatham House stated that the partnership was in exchange for free trade and security arrangements. According to the study, satellite images revealed China's unsanctioned program of settlement construction in Bhutan's northern frontier region, which might become permanent Chinese territory depending on how a boundary agreement turns out. The determination to strive for an early resolution of the boundary issue and the establishment of diplomatic relations was said in a statement provided to AFP by China's foreign ministry. The wide-ranging consequences of Chinese dominance. According to Chatham House, Beijing hopes that a deal solidifying its achievements in northern Bhutan would open the door to formal diplomatic relations and allow it to encircle Thimphu. For India, any such agreement would have significant ramifications. If China succeeds, Beijing can push a view that India is now marginal in its immediate neighborhood, Pant warned. Beijing's increasing military aggression has caused New Delhi to be cautious, and their shared 3,500-kilometer (2,175-mile) border has long been a source of friction. After Chinese forces entered the disputed Doklam Plateau in 2017, which is located on the boundary between China, India, and Bhutan, there was a 72-day military standoff. The plateau advances southward toward the vital Siliguri corridor in India, sometimes known as the Chicken's Neck. The precariously small strip of land is between Nepal and Bangladesh, connecting India's northeastern states with the rest of the country. In 1962, China and India engaged in a month-long conflict. According to Chatham House, New Delhi would be worried that if an agreement were to be reached defining Bhutan's northern boundary, the focus would shift to land in Bhutan's west that China contests, such as the Doklam Plateau. For Bhutan, overshadowed by China, forging an agreement makes sense, said Pant. He said that they will be in an even worse situation tomorrow if they don't settle their border today. China's quiet concern of an all-out conflict. The Hindu newspaper's diplomatic editor, Suhasini Haider, expressed concern on behalf of India that a boundary agreement between China and Bhutan seems imminent. She claimed that India has viewed with quiet concern Bhutan's move to fast-track boundary talks with China following the Doklam dispute in 2017. According to analysts, voters in Bhutan, a country the size of Switzerland with roughly 800,000 people, are more concerned about high unemployment and young people moving overseas in search of employment than foreign policy. The Angaltram, the currency of Thimphu, is tied to the rupee of New Delhi, making India the country's most significant infrastructure and investment source. Therefore, strengthening bilateral ties is essential. According to Haider, any new government will work to strengthen relations. According to the World Bank, Bhutan has close economic and geopolitical ties with India, particularly as its major trading partner, source of foreign aid, and as a financier and buyer of surplus hydropower. India accounts for almost 70% of Bhutan's imports. In December, Bhutan's King Jigme Khizar Namgyal Wangchuk announced a special economic zone along the border with India. Both candidates vying to be the next Prime Minister of Bhutan talk passionately about strengthening ties with New Delhi to grow Bhutan's $3 billion economy. Numerous connection initiatives, such as a railway line to Bhutan, have already been announced by India. However, most of this will depend on Indian investors. Bhutan would be seeking investments from other nations, said Haider, adding it would be significant if Thimphu welcomes funding from China.